everyone, and welcome to LTR edition 33, our 33rd edition, no less, over 2.5 years. We started LTR really during COVID, and well, it's starting to become a bit of an institution. It's run by IDEA, of course, which is the Internet Dating Excellence Association. And the whole point of IDEA is to bring the industry together. I always say, in the business of love, we can all get along. This is our gathering place to learn and share together. And I do invite you to invite other leaders from your companies, by the way. This is by invite only, and anyone who's within the IDEA fold. So if you're here, you're in IDEA. So you should, bear that in mind. I also want to thank our sponsors today. We've got Parship Meat Group, a long-term sponsor, and Real Me, another long-term sponsor and client. And we've got Dating Through Curiosity today here at the second event attending, but the first event as a client and sponsor. I encourage you to inquire about all of their offerings, and without their backing, this event would not be possible. So thank you very much. Without further ado, I'd like to welcome Brandon and Dana. I'm going to go do a quick introduction so you get a better overview of their background. So Brandon started Seeking in 2006 and subsequently What's Your Price and Miss Travel. He is an MIT graduate and has held executive roles at GE and Microsoft. Also, we are welcoming his wife, Dana Rosewall, to the dating industry. Brandon and Dana are husband and wife co-CEO team. So welcome to the industry, Dana. Welcome to the event. I appreciate your time today.
Thank you, Mark.
Right. So I've got a few questions for you, and I'd like to start by asking you, first of all, we love to see husband and wife teams in the business of love. How did you meet?
On seeking.com, actually. So as you guys know, I created the website many years ago because I was facing a lot of difficulties dating, and Seeking Arrangement was born, and it quickly became a large sort of sugar dating site. And ultimately we had to rebrand. Well, I'm sure we talk about that. But when I turned 50 in 2020, I spent my birthday all alone, really a midlife crisis, I would say. And right after that, I called a fortune teller who told me I would be meeting my soon-to-be wife very soon. In fact, right now. And lo and behold, a few weeks later, Dana popped up on my message box on seeking.com, and I called her, I wrote her right back and asked for a phone number, and we chatted for hours. And 3 days later, I flew out to Orlando to meet her, and the rest was history.
And can you tell us about the focus? What you're back at the helm now as co-CEOs. How are you divvying up focus?
I would say we are truly a co-CEO team. And when I say co-CEO, I mean we do everything together. And ultimately the question for me, and I think, Mark, I took after the wedding, I kind of retired. I left the company to a team to run and manage. But a year and a half into the marriage, after traveling a lot and really spending time discovering ourselves, we sort of came to a realization that nobody can really run this business the way we can, because it's really difficult to really explain our vision very carefully to people and expect that they will be able to implement our vision. So we decided at that point to come back and do this together. And in a sense, we attend all meetings together. We make all decisions together. That said, I'm sure Dana has her set of sort of what she enjoys doing, and she could touch more on that, as we continue this conversation.
Yeah, I mean, Brandon's still mentoring me. I'm learning a lot from him, all the technical skills behind running a successful company. However, as for creativity, young minds can sometimes outthink the old. So I think I'm coming in with sort of a new eye, in a sense.
I would say it's like Gen X meet Gen Y, and now
Gen Z.
Gen Z,
Gen
exactly.
Z.
Gen X and Gen Z. Forget it, we're skipping a generation or two. We had the millennials in there as well. And we're going to create some explosion in creativity, we hope.
That's really important to think differently. I talk about Arena and I mean, we also think quite differently. We've been working together for many years, and there's a certain magic that happens. I mean, we think differently, and we often have different opinions, and that's okay. That's a good thing. So how do you think differently? How have you noticed that sometimes your thinking diverges, but you end up coming to better conclusions in the end?
Yeah, I mean, I would say my sort of expertise would be all these years of experience in the various industries, and specifically the dating industry. And that is both, a plus, a pro, as well as cons, right? I mean, in a sense, I've been in the space for too long, and it's better for somebody who's coming and looking at it from outside in rather than inside out. And we really have a good balance in terms of the approach when we do it this way, because Dana is able to see things that I don't see from the outside, and then I can add to that idea from the inside, because I have the experience to then know in my mind as I run the test of her ideas whether it will or will not work, or how we can actually make that work. Yeah.
What would you say has changed? I mean, you've got a snapshot now. You've got a kind of a 2-year window, which is interesting, I think, to us all. You were heavily involved through until June 2022 or so. I've had 2 years of, not looking in so much on this industry. What have you noticed that has changed in that 2-year window?
I think a lot has changed. I mean, clearly, if you've read the news recently, we know the industry is sort of going through a bit of a tough time, right? Match Group is sort of involved in a number of sort of lawsuits where they're sort of, in a sense, the public is sort of saying, there's too much gamification, there's too much fraud going on, and of course, people are getting a little bit tired or fatigued. They're experiencing fatigue with online dating. So I've certainly seen those trends happening. But in a sense, if I were to take a more sort of myopic view, which is sort of focused on our own brands, we have had our sets of challenges. The brand Seeking Arrangement was so good for so long, and it was controversial, and it got us a lot of free press. That sort of went away, and there was a shift in culture, and the term sugar no longer meant what I intended for it to mean in the beginning, right? It's now sort of thought of more as a form of transactional dating, or to be more blunt, people are saying it bothers sort of prostitution. And so we have had to move away from that sort of association. And it's taken us about 2 years now, this rebranding effort, and we're not done, because to execute a full rebrand, a brand as big as ours, is quite a challenge. But I would say we are almost there. We're really in our sort of last phase of a 3-phase project, in my opinion.
I've seen the positioning as elite dating. Is that? I think there was a post on OPW about it. No sugar. It's elite dating now. Is that the position that you're going to run with? Is that?
I think that is right.
Yeah.
I mean, I would say, yeah, that I mean, if I was looking from the sort of dating industry perspective, that would be the right terminology to call it. Yeah. But ultimately, the question is, well, how do you make it stick? Because elite dating had existed long before Seeking Arrangement existed, or even Seeking.com.
Mm-hmm.
And the issue with elite dating, that specific space, is it's not very big. Sugar was actually way bigger than elite dating, to be honest.
It's not well known.
Yeah, it's not well known.
Like the terminology is not used, elite dating, so it's just not well known.
So it's more about how do we get into people's sort of mindset and really their understanding of what is that new term.
Mm-hmm.
And for us, it's hypergamy. Modern hypergamy. Yeah.
Gotcha. I saw that term. Can we unpack? Tell us more about that. Actually, that was a new word for me. Actually.
Well, I think if you think of the term hypergamy, right,
Yeah.
it refers to, really, if you look at the origin of the word, it was actually a social scientist was doing some research in India back in the old days, and he saw that people were sort of marrying upwards to move the caste system, right? If you marry somebody from a higher caste system, you'll be able to be lifted up into that social status. So hypergamy, when you look historically, is sort of associated with marrying up. But that also implies that one party moves up and the other party kind of moves down or stays lateral. In our view, it actually doesn't happen that way in today's society. We can actually accomplish a situation where both parties are lifting each other up. So in a sense, I am, from a social sort of standing perspective, I feel like I get more stares these days. I get more people turning heads, because I feel like my social standing has been lifted because I'm dating such a wonderful, young, smart girl, actually married to such a young, smart girl. And Dana, on Dana's perspective, you could speak about how hypergamy has sort of affected you and transformed your life.
Yeah, I mean, from my perspective, it's more obviously from the economic, although Brandon's not very much of a social butterfly, but yeah, it's changed my life. It opened up opportunities that I would have never had. It gave me the love of my life. So we sort of see it as this way to increase people's socioeconomic status. I always make a joke with Brandon. I was in economics. I got an economics degree, and so there's this thing called Pareto efficient, right? And I keep telling Brandon, if everyone was involved in a hypergamous relationship, modern day hypergamy, it would be a Pareto efficient economy. You know, it's like you maximize everything you have in an economy, and it's just optimal, right? So I always joke with him about that.
Yeah, it's great because I might be wealthy, but with Dana, I'm going to be even more wealthy. And that's the beauty of modern hypergamy.
Dana, you're bringing the female perspective to the company and the female vision. What changes? How do you feel that's going to affect the company over the longer term?
Well, the site has always been run by men, to be honest. It has this male gaze to it. I kind of want to bring this female gaze, which what that means is sort of like pay attention to the details and the experience for users really on and off the site. You know, first way to do that is to obviously reduce fraud on the site. I know that's an issue for a lot of different dating companies. You know, just it's not a good experience for the user to meet someone that's, you know, fraudulent. And then prioritizing features for females that sort of facilitate easier, you know, honest, direct communication. The issue with online dating is it kind of mismatches people's intentions. So I want to create features that sort of bridge that gap. So in long term, I just hope that users just have a better experience overall. So really how that would look for me is honestly people getting off the site sooner, in the sense of just they have more successful relationships, right?
That's the ultimate measure, which is, I think Hinge has the tagline, the app designed to be deleted.
Deleted, right.
Yeah.
It's the truth. Yeah, it's the truth. That's how you know you have a good dating site.
That is
and reviewing people when they leave, you know, just asking why are they leaving. You know, are they usually very unhappy or very happy? It's very important to distinguish which, and then you've got a good sense if they'll return and talk nicely to friends about the app, right? So the industry seems to be on a bit of a back foot right now. Do you think this is innovation related perhaps, or just general user fatigue, or perhaps users just having massive choice at this stage? You've got so many other things, social apps. I mean, there's never been more apps in the app stores. They're small for choice if you think about it. What do you think? Why are we why would you say on a collective back foot? I mean,
I'll let you go first, Dana, on that one.
I mean, for me, I don't think it's about the choice for applications for people to use. I mean, it's more about like, yeah, it's like what I mentioned before, just like when you go on a dating site, there's just a lot of mismatching intentions, you know. A lot of my friends in my generation, they go on these sites and it's just like, you know, someone wants a hookup and then the other person wants a long-term relationship, and people kind of get these like bad experiences which translate into like adverse feelings towards online dating in general.
ooh,
You know,
yeah.
the dopamine hit
Yeah.
and by just swiping and seeing all these people, and you know, you feel empty at the end of it because you don't find people that really match what you're looking for. I don't know if that's your perspective, Brandon, but that's sort of from my generation. I feel like what's happening in the dating industry right now.
Yeah, I mean, I mean, it took me, well, almost 13 or 14 years before I found the one. So I've tried everything and I just didn't give up, right? But that said, it is a situation where there are just too many options out there, not from the perspective of apps, but from the perspective of just way too many candidates. So if you're looking for love, there's endless number of people you could swipe on. It's so easy if a relationship just isn't panning out for you to move on to the next swipe. We have so much time in a day, and all of a sudden we have to subdivide our times between all the people we swipe either left or right on, and not giving enough attention to the ones that ultimately matter.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I think to your point, Dana, as well, the emotional charge of this space. I can't think of another space really that people who come in so emotionally charged, they leave so emotionally charged, they go on dates. It's all very emotionally charged at the end. I kind of feel like they need a bit more help. They need a bit more guidance. And in some ways we corral people and we kind of emphasize the economics of dating somewhat. I mean, we can't help but do it. The outliers. I mean, it's important to kind of balance that out and give people more wholesome, holistic experience. So I mean, to that point, Tinder. What's your thoughts on Tinder? Are you fans of Tinder? I might ask.
I'm a big fan. I mean, I love the new marketing campaign, right? Starts with the swipe. It's great. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, I've been on Tinder. It's just, I've honestly, nothing wrong. I know people that have found successful relationships on it, but it's very much like usually by chance, right? They're like, oh my God, you'll never get, I met on Tinder, right? And everyone's like, what? So, I mean, for me, I personally have never had a successful relationship off of Tinder. It's just too much swiping for me. I get bored with it. I just move on to something else. But I mean, their marketing is really good though. I will have to say their whole like one night stand to a 2-night stand, they're getting very creative with it. And I think people do see that effort being put in there.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think they've got a future? Do you think there's really a future for niche apps to kind of rise now? And would you really describe Seeking as a niche app anyway? Or is it really a contender for the mainstream like Tinder? I mean, is Tinder a competitor? Or are you niche and they're not really a competitor? What's your positioning there?
I would say we are a niche site, right?
Absolutely. I was going to say, I mean, I think that's what would make the dating industry better is if there was more niche dating sites, right? Like, because it's already a common interest and intention going into that site, right? All the distractions are kind of reduced. You only have 24 hours in a day, and in this economy, time is money and money is time, right? You don't want to go swiping through all these people. So yeah, I think niche dating sites would probably fix sort of that back foot that the dating industry has.
I think we'll move back to a more niche dating sort of structure in the future anyways, because you can't really be everything to everyone. Yeah.
So if you're going niche, it sounds like you're going niche. I wonder if you're rethinking about acquiring other niche companies. You've got a couple of other companies in the fold. I should ask you about that because we've got a lot of other dating companies in the room, and I think they'd like to know.
We're always open to acquiring companies.
Yeah.
It's as long as they've sort of fit certain criteria clearly, right?
Yeah.
Strong founder team, clear mission, good intended goals. Those are all really important for us. And of course, how does that fit with our ecosystem? Because we're always looking at some sort of synergies.
Yeah. Great. Good to know. What are the sweet spot in terms of kind of size, revenues? Is there a particular sweet spot you could define and that people could self kind of think about it if they're a candidate to?
Yeah, I think what we're looking for is probably companies that have shown that their business model works.
Yeah.
So I think once you've accomplished, anywhere from $2 to $3 million in revenue, and you have a track record to show, and you can show that sort of consistent growth, you've proven your business model. We're interested in like looking and talking to you.
Great, cool, good to know. Thank you.
Not to forget profitability.
Yeah,
because at the end of the day, there are a lot of companies who are constantly sort of requiring investment money to keep pushing into sort of testing their concept. So until a company is actually profitable, the business model has yet to be tested. So
yeah. That's the best evaluation of the proof is in the pudding and the pudding is profitable. So I've got a bunch of questions here actually. So I'm going to switch out to Q&A from the group and let me just see what we've got. We've got Steve Dean, I think. Yep, Steve Dean up top. So folks, you can vote questions up and down. You can add questions on, you'll see there's a Q&A tab. If you want to ask a question, I'll then pick off the top upvoted questions. So we've got Steve Dean, who's on the Cortland Brooks team. Hey, Steve. How are users coping with the sudden influx of AI-driven messaging across the industry and beyond? That's a question. Beyond. As a coach, my clients have felt a dystopian struggle where they can't tell who's real and can't discern whether messages are ever authentic. So how are users coping with the sudden influx of AI-driven messaging?
Well, the beauty of I think the beauty of our website is that people tend to rush to a real conversation or a real meeting very quickly.
Yeah.
For me and Dana, it was like by the third day, I'm flying over because I know she's a great catch and I'm not wasting my time. And I have the resources to make sure I don't waste my time. And I'm going to make sure she gives all attention to me before somebody snatches her away. So I'm lucky in that sense. So I'm always trying to move into that real conversation. So dating online is already extremely superficial. So I don't see AI as, as causing much of a hassle. Yeah.
I agree.
Would you
I-
agree?
I agree.
And if somebody is smart enough to use AI, well, that's another check mark in their favor, as far as I can tell.
Yeah.
I can tell you, Steve would definitely agree. His guidance to a lot of his customers is to get out on a date as quickly as possible, and yeah, so he'd definitely agree with that. Beck Chamberlain, honey dating. If you were to start again today with a limited budget, how would you go about marketing and attracting users?
I think that's the point about niche dating, because it allows you to be able to target your customers a lot more easily. When we started seeking, obviously we looked at the different sort of space in the luxury or elite dating space, and we saw that there was a niche called sugar. And we decided to sort of focus on that because there was already a number of channels by which we can reach those users who identify themselves as sugar daters very easily. And once we did that, we were able to then sort of leverage the sort of understanding of that space to generate a lot of press, which then led more people to understand, oh shoot, there's this thing called sugar. We've never heard of it. And then it sort of grew on its own from that perspective. So a niche then becomes a much bigger niche at the end of the day.
It's like solving a problem for solving people's problems. You know what
Yeah.
I mean? Yeah.
So you have to understand whose problem are you trying to solve. And like I say, it's really difficult to solve a problem for everyone, because then you become a general dating site, and you end up having you end up requiring a lot more money to accomplish what you want to accomplish.
Yeah, there's a certain efficiency. Oh, Naveen from Playdate asks, what is your North Star metric for success with your business?
I think we had a lot of different North Star metrics in the past, right? We have had obviously revenue, we have margins and all those things. But these days, the
Number of successful
Yeah.
dates.
number of successful dates
Yeah.
or number of successful sort of ultimate relationships.
Awesome. Great.
Yeah.
That's wonderful to hear. Yeah. I call it BLRs, beautiful loving relationships. Vanessa, let me look at the mouse over here. Singles events doesn't show the full company. I should know that anyway. Proud to see a couple tandem, she says. And thanks for your time. What are your top 3 tips for your users in seeking to find love?
Be honest. Be
Yeah.
really honest about what they want, because it gets them to the quickest destination, the destination the quickest, right? I would say that's number one.
That's
people
number
on the
one.
site,
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
so too. Like, I think it's a process of like how much you put into the site ultimately determines what you get out of it. I think if whatever you're looking for, the site's going to kind of, in a sense, deliver for you. So, and it could be a subconscious thing as well. I mean, you may think you don't want something, but even by saying that, you kind of indicating that you want something. Yeah, it's a sort of an oxymoron thing. But the truth, if I had to give people advice, if you're looking ultimately for the kind of relationship that Dana and I have, you have to approach it not by looking for money or for sex. You have to start with a connection, because it all starts with that deep friendship. When I met Dana, I knew right away that she was that childhood best friend I've always wanted.
Yeah,
And,
be able to be best friends with who you're with, for sure.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah, granted, all the other stuff like attraction and things like that, have to be there as well. But that's the superficial level. But then from there, we sort of proceeded very quickly into romance and ultimately love, commitment, and hopefully very soon, a baby.
yeah.
Good. Excellent. Brandon, Dana, it's wonderful to see you. It's wonderful to have a husband and wife team on LTR and in the industry. Welcome to the industry again, Dana. And looking forward to hopefully having you back at some point in the not too distant future when you've got some more news and advances. It'd be great to have you back on LTR. Do please stick around. We've got Jessica up next, and she's going to tell us her story. Thank you very much.
Thank you.